Timmy Joe reviews anything.
Reviewing computer parts on YouTube.
That's
Woo! Gotta be pumped on that, right, Will? Computer parts! Woo!
Oh yeah.
What's up, newbies? My name's Timmy Joe, making videos about computers on the internet, very gently. So, you AMD fanboys and even the reviewers, I'm calling you all out, because this whole Ryzen 2 thing is, just kind of a little tiny incremental update. Something you bitch about from Intel all the time. But when Intel releases their incremental base Pentium lineup in the Coffee Lake flavor, you guys don't even talk about it. I don't see any reviewer talking about this. I think I might be the first one to review basically the cheapest Pentium you can buy. 4 threads, 2 CPU cores. And basically this is like a replacement for the G5400, which was, the budget king for a while there. But things have changed, haven't they? And probably for the good. So we're going to do a complete noob from the ground up build. Here, every part here is basically new or can be purchased new. Most of the stuff I purchased myself. There were a few donations though. FSP sponsored this case. It is the FSP CMT 230. And it's got a little acrylic side panel and some colored fans and stuff. Fun stuff. They also supplied the power supply, which is the FSP. It's a little semi-modular dealie. Hyper M85 Plus. So it is a hyper efficient PSU on a budget, so that's not bad. We have MSI, they did not supply this, but they got an MSI H310M Pro VD motherboard, which would be a very, very cheap motherboard for, as we'll see in a second, it's like the absolute no frillsest of motherboards there. And actually, Ballistics sponsored the RAM, which is a hilarious 4 gigabytes of 2666 Ballistics Sport. I say hilarious because that's all we're putting in the thing, because that's all the budget allows for. We had to skimp it in some places. We have a hard drive that I picked up, a Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte. We're going to be putting everything on there. The Pentium itself, and an Asus, the Phoenix Fan version of their GT 1030. So this is a 2 gigabyte graphics card, and altogether this should actually play 1080p games quite nicely. But is it really the most cost-effective of options? Well, no. Freaking no way at all. There are a lot of things that have snuck up on this that made it basically a joke at this point. But we're going to check it out anyways, because I don't know. Maybe the performance is there. I mean, it does, 3.7 gigahertz. And there's a couple versions above it, but I just went with the lowest one. So let's talk price and stuff and things. So I made a PC part picker here, and this build costs exactly $500. A $500 USD brand new system that's going to play some modern games. Whether or not it's an enjoyable experience, we'll find out. But it's all there, and we're talking 4 gigs of RAM. No SSD, and a dedicated graphics card, but a pretty tiny one, And then, we can see here, this is $71 for the 5400. $71. Well, is that even a good deal? When you have to pair it with, at least they have the H series motherboards out now, but, well, when you consider, the i3 with the 4 cores total, the 4 threads total, is almost doubly expensive. That's, saying it's a pretty good deal. It's not doubly, but it's up there, $50 more. But you're getting 2 physical cores more. This has dual core with hyper threading. Not really sure the gaming performance difference, but I'd imagine we're going to start seeing where these dual cores with hyper threading aren't enough for today's modern titles. But with that low-end graphics card, who knows? Now, this is the elephant in the room, however. The Ryzen 2200G, which does not require its own video card. It has one built in that will play video games. And it's a hell of a lot cheaper than the i3 and has that built in. So this has 4 physical cores. This only has 2. So although they have the same thread count, this is going to be a better value, for sure, especially considering you could plop a video card on the Ryzen 2200G and still enjoy the awesome 4-core performance while you're, expanding a graphics card onto it. Where this, you're not going to use the onboard graphics that's on this, I tell you that. So moving on, I did a PC part picker for what I would consider, a comparable. Actually, I even added a few more things to it. System to this Pentium shebang, and it's $452. That's because you don't have to buy a graphics card. Now, there are 1030s that are around $100, but this one here, right now, the current market value on PC part picker is $150. So, if you factor taking this out of the equation, you can do a lot more, like add another 4 gigs of memory, and you can, maybe even add a better cooler for, this Ryzen 2200G build. That way you can get better performance and overclock the thing. That's definitely something you can't do with this. So, we're looking through. I just wanted to show you guys quickly. The case here is $69.99 on Amazon. It's FSP. It's got a little bit of an old school vibe. It's got drive bays and stuff in the front, but we'll see. It's got some flair to it as well once we plug it in. The fan's got some cool action, and it's got a basement. It's got it'll be all right to build in. It's not a small case. It's not dinky. It feels pretty stellar. And then the power supply is, it's not expensive, but it's not cheap either. It's $57. There are cheaper power supplies you could put in a build like this, but this one, again, has some modularity to it, so that'll be nice. So, all in all, we're going to go ahead and we'll just start doing it. We'll start making this system. So, we'll just make things fall. So we'll go step by step in how you do this. So, where I would start is maybe unboxing, the things and making sure everything's there. You got a new system. You want to, maybe just scope out the parts. Do a little build on the motherboard before you put it in the tray. So we'll get this power supply unboxed and check out its niceness. So, as I said, it's semi-modular, so the board cables do come out, but you have the option to only plug in what you need. And we're not going to need much coming off of this thing. And this is, an 80 bronze. Yes, 80 plus bronze. So it's a little bit of an efficient power supply. The case, it comes with 3 fans, and they're going to have a little bit of color to them, which is pretty cool. And we'll just go ahead and take the back panel off. And I do that because there should be a little baggie in the case. Come on, you mother trucker. There'll be a baggie in the case with some hardware you're going to need, like some, screws, standoffs, stuff like that. Extra cover, little baggie there. And, this case has USB 3.0 support. The fans connect with Molex in case you have a really dank board like this one that barely has any fan headers or anything. So, now that we've got that set up, let's go ahead and we'll build on the motherboard box real quick. This motherboard is going to be hilariously tiny. Poof! It actually has what looks like maybe some LEDs on the bottom of it, which is cool. But yeah, not too much to that, eh? That's pretty ridiculous. What else is in the box? Some SATA cables. We'll need some of those. The I/O shield. Ooh, another guitar pick. That's fun. I could actually use that. Poof! A driver CD. Who fucking needs that? There we go. So we'll put this over here, and poof, there you go. Motherboard, bang, we'll need that later. So we can start off by inserting the memory. And I want to thank Ballistics. Now, I don't really know that dual channel helps Intel CPUs very much. But it always kind of makes me cringe when there aren't 2 slots being populated. Poof! That was easy. We'll need one of these. And let's go ahead. We'll break our CPU out. So these Pentiums do come with a little Pentium sticker there, which is important. And come with a CPU chip. Poof! And they come with an Intel box cooler with some pre-applied thermal paste, which we will leave alone because this thing's not gonna get that hot. So we can take the little lever And look how chintzy that looks. And we can just go ahead and grab the CPU. Okay. And there will be little notches in the top, which will indicate in which direction you're going to put it in. But normally, you know, if the board's facing up like this, you should be able to read the information that's on the CPU. You just kind of set it in one of the grooves first there, like that. Drop it, do a little wiggle just to make sure she's in. And then when you that cool pop will happen, poof, when the little plastic cover comes off. And I'll save this plastic cover because I've been looking for one of those. Cool! Now, these box coolers have been the same since, I swear to God, freaking Pentium 4s, man. They have changed just a little bit in that they're cheaper than they used to be. They're craptacular. But you want to pull the little nubbin out. Yeah. And you want the little arrows to be set so that they're not in the position. Like, there's little arrows on the little nubbins. You want them to not be in the direction of there to lock them in. You put the little arrows, you go that way and turn them that way when you want to take it off. So we'll have to raise this off of here a bit, but it should be as simple as bop 1, bop 2, bop 3, bop 4, and then the bottom should look something like that with plastic nubbins in the little holes. We will now take the CPU fan, and you'll notice it does not plug in. Oh, maybe it does. Boof, there we go. Now, this little wire always gets in the way because it's just so stupidly designed. You probably want to run it like the other way or something like this. Maybe get creative. Put the wires somewhere so they're out of the way. And might as well plug her in while we're here. So now we have pretty much the board ready to go. And we could plug this all in and power it on. That might be something you want to do before you actually physically screw this into the case, especially with a more complicated build. Because with a more complicated build, you're going to have a CPU cooler that might require a back plate being removed. You might want to make sure that all fits together before you put it in the system and lock it in. And if it's used parts, you might want to make sure they work. Now, I have had very good luck that all my builds lately, I haven't had any issues. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the I/O plate, the I/O shield, which I tossed over here, and I'm going to bust it open. And this is seriously how simple things are. We're going to put her in there, which is probably one of the hardest bits sometimes, depending on your case. Oh, that one was very, very easy. Cool. And move our graphics card out of the way. We're going to mock up our power supply now. Now, in this case, it's going to go in here, and the fan is going to face the bottom because there's a dust shield and a port for it to exhaust there, or grab fresh air, I should say. And while we're here, we're not going to need many cables, okay? We're going to need a CPU. Oh, that's probably already there, right? Yep. The CPU, the secondary CPU is already there. All we're going to need is a SATA port, because this graphics card does not require any more than that. Boof. Now, if you had a graphics card that required external power, this is where you'd make sure you plug your 6-pin connectors into your power supply, the ones you're going to need, so we can route them later. But again, this is such a basic build, and this power supply is almost overkill, even at a cheap 550 watts. So we're going to plop her in there, and there was a little baggie with some screwsies. So I think we can go ahead and put the motherboard in now too. And we'll write this at the back. And that connector that I grabbed for SATA, I think it ends with a Molex. It does! So this is perfect. I'll be able to plug my fans into this and the single hard drive. We're going to run this up here. That's more than likely where I'll want it. And before we pop the motherboard in there, I'll run the extra 4-pin. And I believe it is just, oh no, it's an 8-pin. So we'll need both of these connected. And we'll just plop her up through there. Cool. So I usually like do some clever B-roll, but I've been asked several times to do a full PC build like this, just to see every single step of the way. And that's why I'm babbling. Now, are my motherboard standoffs installed in the right spot? You might have to move the little metal dealies that hold the motherboard depending on the size of your motherboard. And to do so, you might need a little tool that removes them. That's like a little socket. What's nice about FSP's cases is they come with like zip ties for you to do cable management. Aha! So it did come with a standoff remover tool. Just looks like that. And you put a screwdriver in there and loosen her up. Plop it in. Make sure you have enough coverage on the provided holes that you'll be able to screw the motherboard in. And then your bag includes the right screws to use, or it should at least, to screw down into those standoffs. There we go. Now we can insert our graphics card. If you had a graphics card that required external power, here's where you'd run the wires, plug them in, maybe even plug them in ahead of time. But this little guy is going to be perfect. There's actually an included thumb screw you could use too here. This video is going to be 25 minutes long. Now we connect our power. Boof, boof, boof. And we'll need a SATA connector to connect our hard drive. They are labeled SATA 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Usually, it doesn't hurt to use number 1 if you only, for your OS drive. But like I say, these days it doesn't matter too much. Now we're going to really grasp the scope of how tiny this motherboard is. It looks really silly in there, doesn't it? But that's just the way things are these days. Everything's micronized unless you've got high performance stuff. So yeah, we have a working system almost already. And everything's in there, boof, buff, beef. We just need the cables managed and the hard drive installed. Man, I babble a lot. I'm surprised my cameras haven't shut off due to overheating yet. Oh, there we go. And our caribou headgear is off.
On! Locked! Alright!
Alright! So, SATA connected. It goes in only one way. Clickety click. Oh, one camera went. And wires, wires, wires. We have our SATA here. We're going to run it like this. We now have a functioning system. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't she beautiful? We can now plug our fans in. All in. There we go. You just kind of plug them all in. There we go. And number 3. Click. Now, there isn't much to cable manage here. You could, click it all in here like this. But no one's going to see it back here. You just kind of shove it all in here. Now we need last piece of the puzzle. USB 3. We'll shove it through there. Probably take the USB and audio. And then the rest of these little guys coming from the case will be your buttons and your lights. There should be a hard drive light, a reset switch. I like that these are all black. A power switch and a power light. And you just match them up with the little jumpers that are somewhere down here. Where is it? Is it that? Usually there's a little label on them to tell you how to use it, how to plug it in. Since when do you actually need the manual? Here we go. Quick installation guide. So, yeah, it's labeled out here. JFP1. You literally have to look at the manual. Isn't that silly? If it'll reach, boy. You better be reaching, boy. Here we go. Whoa! Alright, so we're all done with the build. It is done. That is how you build a PC. If you're interested to see the results of this versus Vega, okay, which we were pinning against the beginning of the video, and how this is actually a more cost-effective option, I would urge you to hit the subscribe button and check back in a few days' time, where I will update with a full suite of benchmarks on this $500 Pentium system. It actually, spoiler alert, there might be some prospect for buying this, depending on your needs. Especially with that little GPU in there, who knows. But I'm at Watch Timmy Joe Instagram and Twitter. If you enjoyed watching me build a computer from scratch, let me know in the comments below. But I know this is a very simple system, and there were a few things that, if it was more complicated, you'd need to know, like how to mount a CPU cooler, or, a video card with extra power connections and stuff like that. But all in all, I think this little system is done. And what are you doing? Come here.
This is broken.
Your cell phone's broken. This is Gibson. And can you say bye to the audience?
Bye.
Alright, we'll see you guys in the next video. Ryzen 2, as soon as I get it coming, benchmarks for that, and overclocking and stuff like that. We're going to make a backplate for my 1080 Ti. We're going to do a whole bunch of cool stuff coming up on the channel. So thanks very much for watching. We'll see you guys later. Say bye.
Bye.